Hello, we're going to talk a little bit about economic systems, but in order to launch into that, I want to spend just a couple of minutes and talk about spectrums. Now, in science class, you covered this year the electromagnetic spectrum, waves specifically, and the idea of the wavelength changes what that specific frequency is or that radiation is. So long wavelengths, AC power, the stuff you have in your house. Very short wavelengths, gamma rays, very damaging to you. So the length of the wave is important. In a political spectrum, how much government control over people's lives really matters. On the far left, anarchism. There is no government control. On the very far right, fascism. Government controls public and private businesses and life. Well, kind of the same thing goes on with economics. There's a continuum of government control. And we're going to talk about a command economy, which is communism. We're going to talk about a free market economy, which is capitalism. And what's in the middle, which most of the countries have, socialism. And it all has to do with government control and ownership. So let's go ahead and begin with capitalism. Iron Man is the best example of capitalism. In capitalism, private ownership of property and the means of production. That is the rule. Tony Stark owns his company. There is no government control. Individuals and groups can invest money and start a business. It's a free market system. If Tony Stark wants to have Stark Industries, that's fine. If another business like Hammer Industries wants to come in, that's perfectly fine. They can compete. If they can make better, more desirable products, they'll be able to overtake Stark Industries. Owners or these investors take risks. You're going to discover in real life, we talked about this in class today, Elizabeth Holmes, she started a company called Theranos. She raised billions of dollars. She became a billionaire in her 20s with the idea that she was going to create a testing machine that would allow multiple tests to be performed on a little bit of blood. It was revolutionary. It was going to make the investors a fortune. Only problem, it was a complete scam. A complete scam. The company is now bankrupt. She is now facing many years in a federal prison as she's going to trial. If it works, you keep the profits. If it doesn't, you lose everything you've put into it. The type of products being made, the quantity of the products being made, heck, even the price is determined by the marketplace. Hard work, the desire to compete, and willingness to try new ideas, they are central to the success of that person or that product. Government avoids interfering in an economy. That is the goal, or at least the basis of capitalism. So look at it another way. Very limited government, if government's involved at all. Freedom of choice. You can do what you want. A gentleman a couple of weeks ago just spent $550,000 buying Tom Brady's last football. This is the last touchdown he threw. Only problem is Tom Brady just unretired. That was a risk of spending $550,000 on that football. Didn't necessarily pay off for that guy. Private ownership. That is a market economy. Now, a mix of the two is socialism, just like you see with the Lego movie. And let me get through this and show you how the Lego movie proves it. You've got public ownership, government ownership, and private ownership. Individuals or groups can invest money in certain businesses, or they can start certain businesses. Government does provide for the general welfare of the people. So let's back up for a moment and look at the Lego movie. Bruce Wayne, otherwise known as Batman, is a billionaire. He owns companies. He's rich. He invests. He takes risks, just like we talked about with capitalism. And he could lose it all. But there is government control. President Business is both a businessman, so he has economic power. He's got resources. He's rich. But he's also government leader. Literally, the person who runs it, President Business, is a mix of public government, that'd be the president, and private business. He's a mix of both. Government will get involved in order to ensure economic strength and promote social change. We saw in the Great Recession of 2008 that companies like General Motors, its car company in the U.S., nearly went bankrupt. So what did the U.S. government do? Spent tens of billions of dollars buying General Motors. And for years, the government was a major stakeholder. We eventually sold the stocks. We lost money on that. Something like $30 billion. But the company continued to survive. Hundreds of thousands of immediate workers and millions of associated workers, those dealership employees, the car repair industry, the accessory industry, they survived because of it. The Smurfs are the perfect example of communism. Government has complete control. They own everything. There aren't rich Smurfs and there aren't poor Smurfs. All businesses are operated for the benefit of the people. People have to cooperate and do their fair share of work. They cannot just blow things off and do their own thing. Notice in Smurfs, everyone has a role. They don't have the exact same job, but they have a role to contribute to the society. It's determined by the system, the community. They determine this. In this case, Papa Smurf, by the way, notice what color he is. He wears red. Everyone else dresses the same. They all have the same type of house. They all have the same type of clothing. They all are equal. Papa Smurf is the leader. He is coordinating what everyone is doing. And wearing red is a pretty big signal in and of itself. They are provided what they need, and they have the role that they are best suited for. The eventual goal is that everyone can operate on their own. Government isn't necessary. Someday Papa Smurf's going away. Think of command economy like this. The government creates a central economic plan. That's step one. But they control all the resources. They have all the factories. So they set all the priorities. Number three, they set the goals of what's going to be produced. And by the way, they control all the workers. They also own all the quote-unquote businesses. All of the employment, this monopoly, is controlled by the government. They even control the laws. That's a command system. Now, in reality, we see very few purely communist systems. Cuba and North Korea are technically not even full communist, but they're pretty close. And their economies stink. That should tell you communism doesn't work. But we also see the same thing with pure enterprise. There is no free enterprise system. This capitalist-only system does not exist. The closest we come to it is Singapore and the US. Most of the world is the mixed economy. In a communist system, there's complete government ownership and control. In a capitalist free enterprise system, no ownership control, no ownership by the government. Well, let's look at it in real life. China, US, and Sweden. Now, in China, the average worker makes about $6,000 a year before taxes. That is actually very, very low. And you'll notice all the stuff that they lack. The government doesn't guarantee civil rights, freedom of speech, free elections, freedom of religion, freedom of press. In the middle one here, which is the closest we have to a capitalist system, the average person makes a lot of money, but they don't have health care that's universal. My wife's best friend just gave birth. She's going to spend the bill is about $30,000. Now, fortunately, they have health insurance, and health insurance will pay most of it. But if you don't have health insurance, it can devastate you financially. A socialist system deals with that, but notice they do have less money. So there are trade-offs in each and every system. Next week when we get together, we are going to work on a skit. Now, if you're not here, you're going to have to do an alternate activity. You'll have to come talk to me about that. If you are on exclusion because of COVID, you are going to have to work on that. Email me so I can get you that information. Otherwise, thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you when you get back to class.